Hello again. So today's video we're going to be graphing linear equations by slope-intercept. Your essential question for this set of notes: when graphing a line in slope-intercept form, what is the first point you plot of the graph called? So our steps on how to graph a line in slope-intercept form: your first step is going to be putting the equation in y equals mx plus b form. You want to make sure that it's in that form first so we can actually graph it. Step 2, you want to plot the y-intercept. Step 3, you're going to use the slope to create more points. Step 4, you're going to connect dots to form a line. So we're going to go through 3 examples in this set of notes. So our first step that we saw, you're going to put this in y equals mx plus b form. So we are actually already are in y equals mx plus b form, so check. We get to move to step number 2. We're going to plot the y-intercept. Be careful because I want you guys to make sure that you know. So if we have y equals mx plus b, the letter b is your y-intercept always. Okay, so I have a 3, so I'm actually going to start on my y-axis at 3. You're going to make a point right there. Now my third step tells me to use my slope to create more points. So remember that your slope is that number in front of the x variable. Okay, so when we look for that, I see I have a negative. There's a little invisible -1 right there. So I have -1 as my slope. Okay, that's great. Well, how do I know where to go left and right? Well, I'm going to go down 1, and then you always put your fraction over 1 so you know how many to go. So from your y-intercept, this point right here, you're going to go down 1 and then to the right 1. That's where your next point is. You do not get to write 2 points you don't get to write 1 here and then go over. So you only get to write that 1 point. I can keep going down, -1 to the right 1, next point. -1 to the right 1, next point. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and connect those dots, making my line. Hopefully that was a better line than on you guys. When you drew it, let's try it again. There we go. Okay, so I can keep going. So that's my first line. For the next example, you're going to still start off with your y-intercept. That was a +2. So you're going to go on your y-axis at a +2. And then using that point, you have a value right here. So this should be a little division sign right there. So your slope is 2/5. Okay, so when you have your 2/5, you're just going to use your rise over run again. So when you use your rise over run, you know that you are going to be going up 2 from that point, that y-axis point, and then over to the right 5. So you're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where you get to make your next point. Okay, and then if you also go the reverse direction, see how this is a positive slope? Well, you should have a line looking like that then. I'm going to show you a trick. If you run out of room and you can't go anywhere else in your graph, you can actually make these both negative, because a negative times a negative still gets you a positive. So going back from your y, or actually from this point right here, you can even see that. I'll do it in different colors so you guys can see this. So if I go down 2 to the left 5, look, I get right back at this point again. So I'm going to go from that point, and then I'm going to go down 1, 2, since I ran out of room on my graph, and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's my third point. So I get to actually connect all, I can't draw lines on this thing, I get to connect all 3 of those points, making that line. And sorry, that line is actually still a positive graph. Okay, so my final one, we have to, remember, you have to make sure that your equation is in y equals mx plus b form, and if it's not, we have to actually solve for it, and like we did on the last set of notes. So you're going to subtract or add x from both sides. So since I have a positive 3x, I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. Then I'm left with a -2y on my left side, and I cannot combine these two because this has an x and this 6 does not. Okay, so I'm just going to rewrite this out as a -3x, and then I have a -6. Then I'm going to go ahead and divide by the number that y is being multiplied by, which is that -2, and I'm going to go through and start simplifying all my fractions. So I got my y by itself like I wanted to. This negative by a negative is just going to be a positive, and since 3 and 2 cannot go into each other, or a number cannot go into them, it's just going to stay as 3 halves. And then -6 divided by a -2, that's going to get me a positive, And I do know that 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 2 goes into 2 1 time. So I don't have to write this negative, I don't have to write that 1 down there. You could just leave it as a 3. So now I see that I actually am in y equals mx plus b form. So now I get to start off with my y-intercept, which is at 3. So we're going to go up on the y-axis at 3. We're going to now use my slope of 3 over 2. So we're going to go up 1, 2, 3. Oh, look, I ran out of room right there. So I'm going to make these both negative now. Not actually on your equation, but just on the side, just so you guys can visually see it. This is your final equation. You don't want to put two negatives there because I want you guys to know that a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So just while you're graphing to help you do it. So you're going to go down 1, 2, 3, and then to the left 1, 2. Remember, those negatives means you go in left and a down direction. I'm going to do it one more time. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and make my other point right there. And then now I get to actually connect those dots, creating my line. And the reason why we don't want to have those negatives right here is just because you guys do know what negative divided negative. It also gave us a positive slope. So that's what we want to actually be seeing. Okay? So make sure that you have this as a positive. And that's it for today.